Так, вот мы к нему и подошли. Вот вывеска, какие-то лошади. 1675 год. Такой вот старенький домик. Сейчас против солнца его будет плохо видно. Такой вот красненький, ну, бордовый, коричневый. Тут уже вовсю приготовились к Хэллоуину. Наверное, рай для Стивена Кинга. Я думаю, его дом выглядит как-то так. Так. Короче, куча всего читать. Куча всяких кукол. Все страшные. Все как и должно быть. Я думаю, эта бригада 100% отпугнет любую нечисть отсюда. Забавно, да? Нечисть отпугивает нечисть. Ну, у них так бывает. Тут даже можно грядки всякие посмотреть. Конечно, помидоров я не вижу. Но вот что-то растет такое. Конечно, похоже на бурьян, но сомневаюсь, что тут бы бурьян выращивали. Не знаю, можно ли что-то из этого есть. Hello.
Hello.
Is it open?
It is.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to see.
Huh? Feel free for tours. Is that what you're thinking of?
No, I don't need any tours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just passing by.
I'm sorry?
Just passing by.
Okay, okay.
For personal use.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. But anyways, so it was this room and it was the room upstairs. And then in 1700, he sold this house to Thomas Leffingwell.
Who?
Stephen Backus.
Is he the first?
He's the first guy to create this house.
Is he like famous guy or he just regular
Just regular guy.
guy?
Had 9 children. Yeah. And so he sold this house to Thomas Leffingwell in 1700, and then in 1701. Thomas Leffingwell added, turned it into a tavern. He wanted the tavern to
For public?
for public.
Okay.
And he then added the house to this house, okay, to make it bigger. 3 things happened in this room. They drank rum, they smoked tobacco, and they got the newspapers. This is where the news would come, okay? And it was really important because it was pre-revolutionary times. Right here is an ad from Thomas Paine. Are you familiar with the book Common Sense?
No.
Well, it's a very famous book, and it had a lot of the democratic ideas, new ideas, and so that was really important. And they would they would be complaining about the king because the king was taxing everything, right? Now, they would come, they would drink rum in containers like this.
It's already empty, right?
Yeah.
Nothing for us.
Nothing for us, they're empty. They would smoke tobacco. The pipes would have long stems like this.
It's original. It's not from China, right?
No, not from China. It's a clay pen, right? And they would put the tobacco in it like this, take an ember and light it, and then smoke. When they were done, they would heat the end, break it off, and the next person would rent it.
Okay.
You didn't own your own pipe, you rented pipes.
But this is like 200 years,
Yeah, at least.
this piece.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Right? This is
So the original guy smoked that.
well, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
But this is the original
Silver.
tray that they serve the drinks on.
Is it silver or
It's pewter.
Uh-huh.
This is pewter, okay? All right, so yeah, they would talk about the news of the day, the revolution. Now in 1760, when Christopher Leffingwell, which was Thomas Leffingwell's grandson, okay, he was making lots of money by that point, and he added this paneling on to make it look nicer, but it had two purposes. It made the room look nicer, and they could also store guns or valuables, because when the tax man came, you got taxed on anything that you had, so they could
it's no any guns there right now.
oh, there's
No.
nothing in it now. no guns. All right, so
Is that guy?
that is his name is, let's see, Colonial John Durkee, and he is a patriot. I don't know much about him. He is not a Leffingwell, but someone created that picture out of different portraits that they found of him. They didn't have an actual picture of him, and then he painted that. So it's pretty interesting that he put that together. All right, we're gonna go upstairs. If you notice, these stairs are very small. The people were very small back then. George Washington did come to here because he would do business with Christopher Leffingwell.
Oh, Washington was here in this house?
In that tavern, yes.
The first president.
The first president.
Wow.
Absolutely. But he couldn't sleep here because he was too big. He was over 6 feet tall.
Wow.
And they didn't have a bed big
He's
enough.
giant.
Big guy. These two portraits, we don't know who they are, but it's to show you that I always thought when you had your portrait painted, you would sit and the painter would paint you, right? But what would happen is he'd paint the body, then meet with you, and then paint the face on top of it. So if it looks like they don't have any neck, that's because they superimposed the head onto the body that they had already painted.
Gotcha.
Now, if you look at the hands, one is much more detailed than the other. You had to pay extra to get a hand into the print, or if you had a full body picture, to add a leg. So that's where the term "it's going to cost you an arm and a leg" came from, because it was extra money. It was a lot more money, and obviously one guy paid a lot more for his hand than the other guy. Now, again, this half of the house was not here until 1760.
Yeah.
So we're back in 1675, okay? And this is the bedroom, all right? So in the Stephen Backus house, it was downstairs and upstairs, right? He had 9 children, so 11 people slept in this room.
In this room, 11 people.
Alone.
Same time.
So the mother and father here, the oldest daughter and a couple of children here, a few more children there, and who's ever left is on the floor.
On the floor.
On the floor. Now,
Yeah, but they put something
I'm sure
like
they had a
grass or
blanket
something.
or something, yes. Now, this is not a working fireplace, right? But they would bring embers up from downstairs and put it in here to heat the room up. One of the children may have taken the embers and put them in here and then rub it across the bed to heat the bed up, okay? Now they would use feathers, leaves, whatever they could find to put into the mattress to make it soft. So then another child would take this and beat on it to soften it up, all right? Now, as you looked over here, there was no springs, they used rope, all right? But the rope would get loose after sleeping on it. So what they would do is they would take this doesn't work anymore because it's worn out, but they would take this, they would put it into the rope and turn it to tighten it.
Again,
And
time
then
to time, right?
Right, and you put that in there. So the term, have you ever heard the term, sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite? This is what they're referring to. Tighten up and get rid of the bugs.
Gotcha.
All right. Now, they did have an outhouse outside. They didn't have a bathroom,
Quickly.
right? So this, they didn't have beeswax. So they use tallow, which is from the fat of an animal. This would last about 3 minutes. They would light this, they'd go out that door, down the stairs, out to the outhouse, do their business, and come back, and hopefully 3 minutes. Because you have to realize there is no light.
How about traditional candles? They didn't have that time?
They didn't have beeswax yet. Not in 1675. Later on, the bees came over from Europe, and then they started to make real candles.
Oh, it wasn't here any bees?
They had hornets, they had wasps, they had bees, but not bumblebees, not honeybees. A
Wow.
different kind of bee. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Now this was very unique. This was added in 1760 because originally in this room there was just one window, and it was that window. But this was unique because it kept the heat in, but also if you had an attack from the natives, nothing they had would penetrate this. They didn't have muskets and guns. They only had bows and arrows and like hatchets, and it wouldn't get through here. So this was a unique feature.
Okay.
All of this is original. This is exactly what it looked like in 1675. This is the door. If you went out and you needed to come back in, you would put that through there, and then you
Nice.
pull on it, and it's not working.
It's not
But
working
it
anymore.
would pull
Okay.
out, okay? And then if you were inside and you wanted to lock it, you would just pull this in, and they wouldn't come in.
It's secret lock.
Secret lock. Now they only,
Oh, it says RIP.
what does it say?
RIP or no?
Oh, I think just
Rest
whatever their initials were. This is a family Bible,
Oh.
and they just kept track of births and deaths.
Oh, it's we cannot touch it, right?
No, no.
Wow, it's a leather.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so old that, you know. Now, they only had probably 2 pairs of clothes. They had their everyday clothes and they had their Sunday clothes. They probably only took 2 baths a year, in the spring and in the fall, because other than that, it was too cold. They wore undergarments. That's a girl's undergarment, and the men would have like a long shirt. All right. So what they would do is they put their clothes on over that, and then at night take their clothes off and sleep in that. Again, if it was snowy out or freezing and they didn't want to go out to the outhouse, they would go to the, they would use a chamber pot. And in the morning, probably one of the kids had to clean up. I love this little thing because this is for the men
Oh, to shave.
to shave, right? Very, very
Nice.
cool. All right. This is called a weasel. And what this was to standardize yarn. There was no standard of measurement. So the king's yard was about this big, and your yard was about this big.
It's like a measure tape.
It's a measure tape. So what they would do is if they had a bunch of yarn that they wanted to sell or barter with, they needed to have a standard skein. So they would put it on here and they would turn. Now this was probably a child's job or someone who was elderly, you know, someone who could do it and not get hurt. And after a while, I don't know if it's going to do it today. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Ready? You keep doing it. Doing it. Hear that?
Oh, yeah.
Stop. Pop goes the weasel. You know that's how much you have. You take that off. That's one skein. You put it on again and you go all over again.
It looks like high technology.
Yeah, high technology. Okay. So now we're stepping into the second house that they added, and you can see the beams. Okay, they think that this house is even older than the Stephen Bach.
So this is original.
This is well, he bought this house from somebody else and just attached it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the reason why you have to step down is they matched the roof lines, not the foundation. Okay. So yeah, and then when they saw this house, they think it's probably older than those 2 rooms. So it's probably early, mid 1600, 1650 maybe. It's a very old house. But he added this house so that he could have the tavern. Now again, this house was up on that, where the light is, okay? And across the street, you'll see this house when you go out. There's a lawyer's building. That was Thomas Leffingwell's house. So when they found that, they found underneath was a tunnel, a brick tunnel. So they would make food at the house and bring it over, because there was no kitchen in here originally. And that's how the visitors would eat. This was probably the carriage driver's room. Even if you were married, the men would sleep on one side, the women would sleep on the other side. And the carriage man would have to get up early, get his horses ready, get the carriage ready, because the carriage had to go either to New London, New York, or Boston. Okay?
Those people who is not married, like
If
sleep
married or
separate.
not married,
Oh, doesn't
They
matter?
had to separate. Yep.
Oh.
Men on one side, the women on the
It's
other.
because of religion or?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have people, like, so you had many people sleeping in the same room. So you couldn't have a husband and a wife intimate in front of other people. You know what I mean? So they just
Yeah, I
said,
understand.
that's it, you're separated. It's only for overnight. You're only staying overnight to go to the next stop on your way.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay, this room is to show you all the different things to make cloth. Okay? There's spinning, there's weaving, and it's a lot of work. All right? Like,
Yeah.
this is part of a loom. And what you have to do is you have to put a string in every single piece.
It's insane.
Right? That's just to set it up. I'll show you the loom in the basement, but it's a lot of work. And then I always wonder who looked at a sheep and said, oh, we could make yarn out of that. Because it's not just taking it off and making yarn. You have to, there's lots of processes. They also would use something like this, which is flax. Now, who would look at this and say, you can wear that?
So we wear this.
Yeah, exactly. But you have to take it and you have to run it over the nails there, and then you have to soak it. There's a lot of processes in order to get it to look.
Oh yeah, this is flax,
Yes,
right?
Right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And then of course they had no dyes. So in order to color
Oh, what's there?
No, I don't even know what's
It's modern.
but in order to dye the fabric, they would go to nature. So this is lichen, and you'd get the color purple. This is black
What
walnut.
is it? Leaves or what?
It is some kind of, I don't know. It is from nature. I don't know if it's a leaf. I don't know if it's a plant. But it's called lichen. I kind of think it comes from the sea myself. Black walnut, of course, you know walnut.
Yeah, they eat it.
You get
right?
brown. This one,
How old this one?
oh, I have no idea. It's fallen apart. So. And then this is madder. This is a root. They got red, and then marigolds, which of course is a flower. You got yellow. But yeah, here's the. God only knows how.
Yeah.
I don't think it's 400 years old.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. And then,
Oh, this is this one.
that's a lace. And again, I don't know if you've ever seen lace, but in order to create
It's
that.
for women, right?
Yes. Well, this is for a baby. And then that's probably like a collar. But in order
It's
to.
fashion.
Yes,
If they,
yes.
it's not for regular day, right? It's not casual.
No. This is very, this is much later on. You know, the colonists didn't have stuff like this.
Yeah,
Unless they
I
brought
see.
it with them from
Europe.
Europe. Yeah. Now this just talks about Hannah Lillybridge. She has nothing to do with Leffingwell, but she was the Norwich weaver. So this was her loom, and her loom is so big it didn't fit in this museum. So it's in a different museum altogether. But again, it was huge. He had his horse.
Итак, в этой комнате Джордж Вашингтон был.
Horse. It was so impressive. So next year, you should definitely come on 4th of July.
4th of July, here.
Here.
And
We do one event every month. Next weekend, we're doing the Founders Day. And they're going to have a lot of different displays of showing the people who actually founded Norwich.
Traditional jacket for military.
Militia, yeah.
Militia. Да, в этой комнате Джордж Вашингтон был своей собственной.
On the rock. All right. Now this is a really cool thing. This is a rotisserie. And if you see, the weight makes that turn and then this turn. So they would put their chicken or their rabbit, whatever they found, and cook it slowly over the fire. Now, if they were lucky enough to have a small pig or a goat, they would put it in that and change it out and cook that all day long over the fire. And then this is a roaster, and that's what they would roast their coffee beans in, or even make popcorn, which I never think of colonists eating popcorn, but they did.
But they're not growing here like coffee beans.
No, that's coming in off the ships. Don't forget, we got New London coming into Norwich. So they got a lot
Caribbean
of their
or
goods.
something.
What's that?
They're from Caribbean.
Yes, or the West Indies, all of that kind of stuff. Same thing with sugar and rum.
Oh, cane sugar.
Yes.
Oh, these candles, making candles.
This is making candles. Now, I told you we didn't have candle wax, but once we did, then we started making candles with this.
Is it like a kind of factory or just
was
people make
just-
for themselves?
They needed light. They had no light, you know. The only way they have light is a fire or candles. And then eventually whaling oil. They would
I mean,
use
do you
oil
think
lamps.
they were making them for selling or just for
I think mostly for themselves.
For themselves.
Probably every household made their own candles.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So what you would do is you would take one of these and you would hang your wick, right? And then you would dump it in the pot and then hang it. And then you'd go all the way down the road, and then by the time you got to that one, you'd start all over on this one. And you just keep doing that until you build up layer after layer after layer, because you want it to be able to last, right? If they didn't put lots of layers, it would just melt. So there's that one, and then there's this one that's even more fun because it has more arms, but you can just sit, dunk, and put it, dunk, and put it. Now, I always love to kid the kids, and I go, do your parents ask you to do the laundry? Right?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You got to go push a button, right?
Yes.
Well, back in that day, you had to go down to the river and scrub with this. Not an easy thing to do. And that's pretty hefty, right? This is a cider barrel. They did not drink water because it was very dangerous. So they would drink cider.
Because too much bacteria, right?
Yes. So they would drink a lot of cider, a lot of rum, and a lot of ale. So they felt pretty good most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Johnny Appleseed, have you ever heard of him?
Maybe.
Okay. Well, he was a gentleman who planted apple trees all along the west. Like started here and went west. And I always thought he planted regular apples, like we go to the orchard. No, the apples that he planted were hard and bitter because that made the best cider for drinking. And he wanted people to have access to drink cider because you couldn't drink the water.
Yeah.
You know?
This one I heard about that.
Yeah.
How about that? Is the not in there?
No, that's just our archive.
Oh, this is for snow steps.
Snow steps?
Yeah. how
Oh,
you call
yes. What do they call those? Wait a minute. What do they call those? Snowshoes. Hello.
Snow.
All right.
It's very simple.
Yeah. They think that the colonists did really well in the war because they were very strong people.
Small and strong.
Small and
Like
strong.
dwarfs.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But feel this. Feel how heavy that is. Right? Now,
Yeah, like a
now
hammer.
think about that.
Yeah, it's
Now, it's not just lifting it once. They're taking this and they're banging and they're banging and they're banging, right? There's a lot. Like, we go to the gym and we use kettlebells, right? For what, 10 minutes? This is all day long. I mean, look at how that is worn out, right? And then this is an axe. Look at this, right?
Yeah.
This is why they didn't cut down trees and build buildings. What they used to build was mostly boats that were no longer in use. They would take the wood off the boats and build the houses from that. Now, again, this is the second half of the house. Remember, I told you, look at how it's built. These are just logs. I mean, it's incredible. And that's why they think that the way this architecture is, they believe that this house is even earlier made than the Bacchus house.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. Now, everything in this room was donated from a Norwich family. And again, I told you that
Everything. It's nothing here original, right?
not,
I mean, in this
not so
room.
much. I mean, it's original stuff, but it's different periods. Different periods. And I had told you that Christopher Leffingwell had a gun factory. There was also another gun factory called Thomas and Hopkins and Allen. And these are a lot of guns from that factory. But both
Wow,
factories,
it's many of them.
both factories,
They
burned
teeny
down.
tiny gun.
Teeny tiny guns too. Yeah.
How they can use it for
I
what?
have
For
no,
birds?
you know what? I don't want to find out. And of course, muskets. Now this is an original musket. Have you ever seen them load a musket?
No.
Well, you have to come to one of our events because we have a musket man.
Oh,
And
it's
he-
an Independent Day or?
Independence Day and several. I'll give you the
Okay,
list.
yeah, definitely.
But I saw him load it, and it's very complicated. You know, I said, I don't know how anybody died because it takes so long to load it. So then, of course, they put the bayonet on the end. So if I can't load it, I'll just stab you, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And then this hatchet is very interesting. Again, that whole Lexington alarm. The reason why it happened in Lexington, if you read this, a lot of people marched to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and raided the British gunpowder shed and stole over 100 barrels of gunpowder. So then the British went to attack to, get their gunpowder back, and they came across all the militia, all the men that were going to fight, and that's how the war started.
Is it dollars?
They're different. Everybody had their own money, like until Hamilton
Every
came.
state?
Every kind of state.
Or every city?
It could be. I don't even know. But until Hamilton came along and created the actual
For everyone, same
money
for everyone.
system, this is what people used. And again, way before that was just the silver coins. Remember the ones I showed you upstairs? And then this is a sample of, this is a ceremonial sword. But you can see how beautifully intricate that is made,
So it's not for war or...
It's not for war. This is the gentleman who sword that is, and you can see he's wearing it on him. But it's just to show the craftsmanship of that time. And then these are from different militias throughout New England, and this is how they would carry their gunpowder. They would use different horns. They even have a whale's tooth in here. And that's how they would carry their gunpowder when they were, I guess, hunting or fighting. Again, Millionaire's Triangle, all of this stuff.
Sorry, but horns, they use it for drinks, right? Or...
No, that's for gunpowder.
Ah!
Gunpowder.
Gotcha.
Okay, so here's another rum chest. These are the ones that the taverns would have to serve their drinks. And then this is all beautiful china from millionaires' homes. Like this is Staffordshire china, which comes from England. So they would have it shipped in from over Europe. But a Norwich family owned all these items. This is pottery from...
But this is not the original old one, right? Or it's...
Well, it is. It's I don't know how old. I mean, it's probably from the 1800s.
But more than 100... like 200 years.
Yeah.
And it's from China, you said?
It's from, no, it's China, but it's from England, Staffordshire. They're known for their china, Sort of like Waterford crystal. I think that's from Ireland, Waterford. So, but this is pottery that was made from Leffingwell's pottery factory. And then there was another factory in town, and this is a picture of what it looked like. It no longer is in existence, but that is a piece from their pottery factory.
So this how look like pottery factory.
This is what the pottery factory looked like, and then here's a thing reenacting this. See, they created that from that.
So it's traditional pottery factory,
Yeah, yeah.
or it's
I
that
think
one who
very
was built
practical.
here?
It wasn't very fancy. Like, see, this is like vessels, you know. I don't know about these. These seem a little fancy for that time. So I'm not sure where that came from. But you can see, like, these are beautiful, and these are from, you know, old
Yeah, but
times.
like for us in this time, it's like regular
No,
stuff.
but
But
this
for
is-
them,
this
it's
is-
like
yeah.
luxury.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this blew me away because I thought this was just toys. But what this was salesman samples. The salesmen couldn't bring all their goods, right? So they would make miniatures and bring the miniatures to you, and then you place an order. I need that rug, I need those glasses, I
It's
need
like
that chair.
Amazon.
Amazon of their day. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? I mean, it's fabulous. And then there's some samples of cannonballs.
Uh-huh.
And then this was the medicine chest for the doctor. His name was Dr. Turner. He'd put this on the back of his carriage and go to house. He would mix up his elixirs, and you can see he had different compartments for all his different bottles and stuff. He would make his medicines. This bag was actually made in Norwich, and he would put his stuff in the bag and then take it to the house and hopefully help you, but more times than not, you probably
Yeah.
died.
Yes.
Now this
If
is
you're lucky, you will survive. If
Yeah.
you're not, you die.
this is a loom. This is a very small loom compared to that loom I told you about with Hannah.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like small.
No, and look at, see all the strings
Yes.
in there just to set it up, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, once it's set up, now you've got to do the loom, right? So you have the shuttle and it goes this way and then you pull it. Then you do it this way and you pull it. And you just keep going and going and going and make a great big piece of material. Then you got to make the clothes from the material, right? And then, you know, they had a sickle. Are you familiar with sickles? You know, it cuts the grass.
yes.
Well, don't forget, they've got fields,
My
right?
grandfather had it.
Had one of those?
Yeah.
So you got to cut the grass, then you got to rake the grass, then you got to bundle the grass. It's a lot of work.
Yeah,
So
I know.
some guy was genius enough and said, let's add the sickle to the rake. So this eliminated one whole step, right? You're cutting and raking all at once,
Oh, wow.
right? Very
Yeah.
smart.
Huh.
And then these nails are the original nails from the roof.
Uh-huh.
And if your house or your barn burnt down, the next day you and your family would run and go collect all the nails because they were a high commodity. Very difficult to come by.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna go upstairs now. I'm giving you a workout today.
It's not workout.
It is for me.
Ah, okay. So,
Oh, hi. There is a restroom.
hello.
Okay, good. So this is the kitchen. And this fireplace is the only thing that is not original to the house. What happened is when they moved the house down, the chimney broke. But this is from a Mohican classroom. So it is authentic to the time, it's just not original to the house.
Okay.
Okay? Now, let's see. Chairs. Chairs were a high commodity. Most homes did not have chairs. If they did, they probably had one chair, and if there was, it would go to the head of the table, and the father would be the one who got to sit in it. So that's where the term chairman of the board came from.
It's like head of the...
Head of the household. Now, if you see, they're really low to the ground, right?
Yeah, it's for kids, right?
Well, no. What happens is you use this chair, you take it outside, you take it different places, the legs start to get rotten. You would never get rid of the chair. You just cut the legs and you keep using it.
Ah, okay. So
that-
Like originally it was,
was probably higher.
higher.
And they just kept
Like a
cutting pieces.
bar.
Yes, yes. And then this is a butter churn, of course, and you can see how much it was used. Look how thin that is compared to this. And I want to experiment one day and put cream in here and see how long it takes to turn that into butter. Again, you see a lot of these pans have the feet because they would take the embers and bring them out here, and this is where they would cook. Before they had silver spoons, they probably had pewter spoons. So they would be eaten out of pewter, but this wasn't very good for them either because pewter has lead in it, and that's not very good for you either. Before pewter, you would use gourds, right? The wooden shoes. I always think of the wooden shoes as being Holland, right?
I don't know how it's possible to wear like
I know, but they did.
shoes. I saw it only in the movies.
But they did because they
People
last.
really
They
use it.
did use them. Actually, more than leather shoes because leather was harder to come by. And those lasted a lot longer with the rough terrain and the farming and the gardens. So that's what they would use. Now the lanterns, every family had a lantern. And
For what?
every lantern had a special design. So that when you were out in the dark and you saw someone coming with a lantern, you could recognize who it was by the picture.
Ah, you can see it from long distance.
Yes,
The like,
design.
Design.
Yes. Now, every family had at least one, if not many, of these. These are water buckets. Feel that. It's made out of leather, right?
Yeah.
They would have their name on it and then the number, okay? So if the call came out that there was a fire, you'd grab your bucket, you'd go, and they'd form a line, and everybody would take the water and pass it on. They would collect all the buckets and bring them to the meeting house, and the next day you would go and look for your bucket. The flag. This flag came from a ship. We kind of think that some of these holes, you can see singe marks in it, so we think that they were bullets.
So it's like original.
Yes, there was a lot of salt in this flag, so they knew it came off of a ship.
It's 13 states that time.
Right. Well, Betsy Ross created the first flag, right? But after that, the flag was doing all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah,
It was
I know.
looking weird. So this particular man, his name was a naval commander, Samuel Chester Reed. He was a Norwich native. He went to Congress and said, we need to come up with a regular flag. So he's the one who came up with the stars and stripes, the 13 stripes, and then a star for every state. But in a ship, when you have 50 stars, it looks like the flag is white. So they can't do that on the ship. So on ships, they only have 13 stars. They don't do the 50.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they don't want to look like we're surrendering. You'll see a lot of herbs hanging. That's because that's what they would use to flavor their food.
Like tea.
Well, yeah, I guess like tea, but like oregano, basil.
Yeah. For
you know,
spice,
for
food.
spices, absolutely. Now this is my favorite part of the entire.
Oh, this one?
No,
Oh,
that's
it's
just
not
our
nothing.
stuff. This is my favorite part of the whole museum. Uncas, have you heard of Uncas?
No.
He's the head of the
Oh, Uncas, it's like
Uncasville, yep.
Indians.
He was the head of the Mohicans, okay?
Yeah, Mohegan, yeah.
Yeah, and Uncas and Leffingwell, the original Leffingwell, were very good friends. What happened was Thomas Leffingwell came with his brother from England to Boston. His brother stayed in Boston. He came down, lived in Old Saybrook, where Uncas was. He was only 14. They became really good friends, and he was a really good hunter. So they would hunt and do a lot of things together. Well, later on, at one point, the Mohicans were surrounded by the Narragansetts from Rhode Island, and they were starving, and they couldn't get out.
Mohegan pride, like Uncas.
Right, Mohican. There's Pequots and there's Mohicans. Uncas
It's
is
two
Mohicans,
different
two
tribes.
different tribes, right? The Pequots did not like the colonists. The Mohicans did. So Uncas got word out to Leffingwell and said, please send me some supplies, my men are dying. So he got 2 men and a boat or a raft, and he filled it up with all kinds of supplies, and he went down the river, and when the Narragansett saw them coming, they took off. So, in gratitude for this incredible thing, he gave Norwich to Leffingwell. The 9 square mile of Norwich. So it's not only just Norwich that we know today, but it's Basra, Preston, all these different towns. 9 square miles he gave. So this was the original deed, and then this was later on the official deed to give to Norwich. Now, because they were natives, they had to be civilized, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so they had to have this Bible on them. And what the Bible was on one half would be Algonquin, and the other half would be English. And if they were caught without it, they could be in a lot of trouble, all right? Because they had to be civilized. Did they pay attention to it? No, but they had to keep it on them just to keep their lives, you know?
I gotcha.
Yeah, but the idea that he gave Norwich to this man is just amazing to me. All right? This is the final room. And this is much later on, okay? Christopher Leffingwell had 3 wives. His 3rd wife...
Same time?
Not at the same time, no polygamy. But she wanted things to be a little fancier, so she added wallpaper. This is not the original wallpaper, but they did find a sample of it, and they sent it off to Europe, and this is what they came back with. So it's pretty authentic to the time.
Okay.
Of course, at this point, they have a lot of important papers and valuables, so they needed ways to hide it. So they started creating furniture where you could hide
Wow.
things, right?
Uh-huh.
Ingenious. Things like this
Supposed
desk.
to be a lot of money there.
Yeah. This desk, it has this, but then
Wow.
also that.
I definitely need one of these.
Right? Oh, you must have a lot of good stuff.
How about hidden doors?
No, well, I
Some
mean,
desk.
yeah, I know.
Somewhere underground.
Now, if you look at these wood, you see how big this wood is?
Yeah.
Again, this came from a boat, okay? They think that this was a cannonball that hit the side of the boat. They believe that's what that
Is it
was
oak?
from.
Well, do you know what kind
I
of?
don't know what it
type?
is. I have no idea. I don't think it's oak. I don't know what the cherry wood maybe. I don't know.
I see it's like white. Maybe it's some
Right. Well,
big.
that's another thing too. Is the king could come in and take the wood if he wanted it. If it was a certain size, because over in England their resources were dry, so he just felt everything that was here was his. So if he came into a house, if one of his men came into the house and saw the big, he could take it. They call it the king's wood, and he could take it. It's very rare to see big wood. A lot of times they put the big wood upstairs because the tax guy wouldn't go upstairs. He'd usually just stay on the first floor. So that's a rarity. This corner is Benedict Arnold. Have you ever heard of Benedict Arnold? Okay, he's a trader. That's what I heard when I was in high school. But what I didn't know was that he was one of Washington's main men. He was a very good general. But then he turned on us and burnt down New London. So it's a whole story, and you have to get that story. We just had Benedict Arnold 2 weeks ago. We had an event. And
You know, I read about him. He's the one of the famous Norwich. Yeah, like general.
Yes, he
Be-
grew up down the road. His father was the town drunk, so he fought against that his whole life, okay? But he did live right down the road. This is the key to his house. Oops. And this is a part of the banister. His house got struck by lightning and was burned down. But his family was looked down upon because his father was the town drunk. So he fought against that his whole life. Now this is the layout of the meeting house, and this is the pulpit. Now, according to how righteous you were, was how close you were to the pulpit. Arnold's were way in the back of the church because they weren't looked upon very highly. But yeah, you need to read about Benedict Arnold because it's very, very interesting. And in New London, if you go to Fort Trumbull,
Yeah, I was there in Fort
well,
Trumbull.
did you see the raised?
It was closed the time.
Oh.
I didn't go there to like
Oh,
inside.
not inside. They have a relief map, and it shows you how Benedict Arnold kept his ships, didn't bring them in because he knew the two forts were there, and he brought them. He let his men out. He sent one half of his men to Griswold. He sent the other half to New London, and he had them burn all of New London down, like all of it.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty incredible. So that's our tour. This is our little gift shop. This is the book. Where is the book? Is it here? Or did we sell the last one? Yep. Remember I told you about Francis Collins?
Yeah. It's over there.
Oh, there. Look how big that book is, right?
Yeah.
But,
Probably original was much bigger.
well, no, that's it. That is the book. But she
Because
also
it's
has-
handwrite, maybe it's like.
Oh,
big.
yeah, maybe. But that did end up going to a printing press because they could make newspapers, so they could make books back then. But she also has another one of New London, in New London. So.
Same one?
Well,
oh,
I don't know how big it is, but I'm assuming.
yeah, but she wrote for New London history too, or only
Yes,
for Norwich?
Yes, no, this one's just Norwich.
Yeah.
And then she did another one for New London.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's no picture, right?
No,
I
no
s-
pictures.
I love pictures mostly.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You're welcome.